I would like to introduce you to our next speaker, Megan Maddocks, who is talking about lessons from a colleague. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to SARS. You know, we all like to put our head in the sand when it comes to SARS and tax, but that is not a good idea, and Megan is going to explain exactly why. So who is Megan? She is a practicing podiatrist running her own private practice with 10 years experience. She has a strong interest in business and financial literacy in healthcare, specifically in small practices. Her struggles and conversations with others have encouraged her to educate and empower healthcare professionals on the importance of understanding obligations beyond the consultation room, particularly around engaging with finances, working effectively with accountants, understanding and meeting SARS and other regulatory requirements, and using systems to be financially sound. So thank you so much for being willing to be open and vulnerable about this very sensitive topic, Megan. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, my disclaimer is that this is a good old-school PowerPoint presentation with animations created by me. There's only one slide right at the end that has any sort of AI in it. But anyway, let me get into it. My name is Megan. I'm a healthcare professional just like you. I'm a practicing podiatrist, and I've been trained in the medical care of the lower limb. I'm not trained in business. I'm not trained in finance. I'm not trained in VAT and anything to do with money. And this is my story. I was about 9 years into being a podiatrist and 8 years of running my own private practice. By this time, I thought things would be a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, and that I'd at least be starting to live the dream. I had an accountant on a monthly retainer because of VAT, and I had a financial advisor, and I was still just struggling to keep my head above water. The VAT and tax payments seemed sporadic, and they came with very short payment terms or payment deadlines from my accountant. I was just told to pay this and pay that, and I didn't really understand what was going on in the timelines. And it was really, really frustrating. I started asking more questions because I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand. I wanted to get a grip on all of these things so that I could grow and learn and be where I was hoping I would be by that time, which I wasn't. And I started asking more of my accountant at that point, and it didn't go very well. Eventually, I terminated services with that accountant. To change accountants is not a small feat if you've ever done it before. And after my presentation, that's exactly the question I'm going to ask George, the accountant who's here with us today. How do you choose an accountant? And he's got some tips for us. Anyway, George is not the accountant in my story. Okay, so I did some homework and I actually did some interviews. I met with more than one accountant before I made my mind up because I refused to be burned again. Anyway, I found my match. Meet Manita. During the onboarding of my accounts, Manita said to me, Megan, do you have any outstanding issues with SARS? I said, well, there's something going on. There's something about a VAT audit thing. It's in the region of about 30,000 Rand. I don't really know what this is for. I don't know what it's about. I repeatedly being told that it was sorted, but I wasn't convinced. I had nothing on paper to actually tell me it was sorted. This was a lot of money that I didn't have. And this was part of my frustration with that accountant and part of why I changed. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go check this all out. A few weeks later, Manita messages me on Sunday, the 1st of December, 2024. A Sunday. She says, Megan, we need to meet quite urgently. We need to talk about this VAT reconciliation thing. I said, okay, cool. I arranged the meeting for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And while I made her wait all day, I was preparing my speech about my newly found boundaries. I was not going to work on a weekend and after hours, and you know how that story goes. So, 3 o'clock comes, I'm all ready for this meeting. She logs on to Zoom, we say hi, and she says, okay, Meg, we're going to get straight into it. That SARS VAT thing that you thought was 30,000 Rand, It's 250,000 Rand. I recommend you get yourself a lawyer. I'm reliving it now and it's not fun, okay? Just like that, overnight, I found myself 250,000 Rand in the hole with SARS. The last place you want to be in debt to. It wasn't my doing. I had absolutely no knowledge of it and had nothing to show for it. 3 weeks later, just before December holidays, right? I wake up to an SMS notification from my bank that 30,000 Rand has been debited from my account. Naturally, I jump onto the fraud hotline because this can't be right. And they confirm with me this is legit. So between that SMS and now knowing what I know, I thought, okay, they're allowed to do this? What the hell? Another couple of weeks later, there was another debit for just over 15,500 Rand. So, take a moment and enjoy the view from my desk at my home office. Because this is as close as I got to that swimming pool during that sweltering December holiday. Manita and I worked tirelessly during the December holiday. First of all, just to understand the systems, just to understand all these things in the background, and understand what went wrong, how it went wrong, before we could even start to fix it. And it was an interesting process. So, let me tell you, how does SARS handle money that is owed to them? Because they don't just jack it out your account. For context, SARS is owed a hell of a lot of money. And this is legitimate money. I don't have enough hands. This is money that has been declared. Yes, SARS, we owe you this money. But it has not yet been paid over. 520 billion Rand is a lot of money. And if you go and read the rest of this article in Business Tech, it will explain to you that the process that happened with me is one of the easiest ways for them to get money, and they are focusing on the smaller individuals that don't have the capacity for lawyers and fighting and all of that. So, this doesn't just happen overnight, but SARS, generally speaking, has good protocols and systems in place for their processes. However, they're really, really slow. The money that was debited from my account was for something that happened 2 years beforehand. So they can deduct the money from your account, and if that fails, there are other processes that they can go through to reclaim money that is owed to them. But it doesn't just happen. There is a whole communication process to get to and through this process. And it starts long before the letter of demand. I never received any of these notifications nor the letters of demand, and it was at no fault of SARS. In my case, the accountant that was part of the story didn't update the email addresses during their tenure. When we got in there and started updating all of this stuff, there were email addresses from 2 accountants before, and another one I didn't even recognize. But I'll explain to you a little bit later that those systems and access have changed a little bit. But on the flip side, imagine being the accountant, and you've got even just 100 clients, or 1,000 clients, depending how big the practice is. Can you imagine how many emails they're getting every day from SARS? So yes, things do slip through the cracks, but ultimately, I'm going to show you some of the other things that happen. Okay, so let me ask you a few questions. Are your contact details updated with SARS? Whose contact details are registered with your SARS profile? Are they yours? Your accountant's? Someone else, a family member? Or you have no idea? You don't even know there's a SARS profile. Do you have access to your SARS e-filing profile? When last did you access it? And do you actually know what is going on with your SARS stuff? Do you actually know that you are compliant? Have you seen a piece of SARS paper to say that you're compliant? Good, good. I'm seeing nods. That's nice. Or has your accountant said, yes, you are, and that's good enough for you? Okay. Oh, there's some shakes there. Now, I'm not trying to make you doubt your accountants. I really hope you do have good, but more importantly, honest relationships with your accountants. And I'm hoping that some of the information today will strengthen those relationships and systems for you to work better with your accountants. Let me tell you how SARS handles penalties and interest. Interest is calculated daily, not monthly like we do it. Daily. It is compounded, which means that interest is charged on the interest charge that was added yesterday. This is all automated, and it only gets added to your statement monthly. So it's calculated daily, but only shows up monthly. It's a bit sneaky, but anyway. And the last thing is that there's actually no notifications of these calculations happening in the background. So you physically need to log in and look for them. Okay, I don't have notes, so I don't know what's coming next. Right, so my point is this. When things hit the fan with SARS, or when there's money outstanding and owing to them, things can spiral very, very quickly. A small penalty for a late payment or a small interest charge can spiral into a large amount really quickly. Also, when things are not right with SARS, they're looking at you. They don't care who your accountant is. They don't care who pressed submit on whatever return you had to do. It's you as a taxpayer. It's you as the business owner. Ultimately, the SARS obligation stops with you. You are responsible for it. So, take a moment to just breathe. And if you're struggling with that, Hema will be giving a talk on breathing, stress, and burnout tomorrow. Because this is exactly what happened to me. And breathing definitely helped. And a whole bunch of other things. Hema's in the audience, by the way. All right, so where to begin? If there is one thing that you do today or even this weekend is go log into your SARS profile. First of all, see if you can. And if you can't, sort out whatever needs to be sorted out, redo the passwords just so that you can get into your SARS profile. Once you are inside your SARS profile, check who has access. There has been a lot that has changed in the software behind this. SARS is evolving all its processes and systems, and there's all sorts of AI, which I have no idea about, but they've changed the way that the users are set up so that you retain complete access to absolutely all of your information on your SARS profile, and you add your accountant and whoever else you want, you add them as a shared user. This wasn't the case before, and we don't need to worry about the past. But go and do these changes, and please do them with your accountant, because they do need PINs and codes and all sorts of things. So see who has access to your SARS profile. From there are 4 things that I would love for you to be able to do yourself in your SARS profile. Number 1, update your details. In this section over here, you'll be able to update your email, cell phone number, addresses. You can update your banking details, but I'm not familiar with the process of doing all of that. Updating your address and contact details is simple enough. And go and see what is there. I found some interesting addresses on mine. The second thing I want you to be able to do is to be able to check your own compliance. Different accountants use different things and they have different processes. But at the end of the day, if you're having a moment on a Sunday night, your accountant's not going to be able to help you. Do it yourself. Empower yourself to know what's going on. I'm going to show you what this looks like a little bit later. The next thing is for you to be able to see all your communication from SARS. So even if it is not getting into your email inbox, you can go and see a whole history of what was sent in the past. This is very useful. And lastly, I want you to be able to go and see your statements of accounts. This is basically every transaction, money transaction, or penalties and whatever that's been happening on your SARS account. There are a number of different statements, and they are all split, which is a little bit strange. And you will see different statements depending on how your individual or how your entity is set up. Some of them are specifically for business, and some of them are for personal. I'm not going to walk you step by step through any of those today. It's not the easiest system to navigate, but between AI, Google, and actually the SARS website, you should be able to find your way to all of these quite easily. So my intention is not to scare you today. We're all a little bit scared of SARS as it is, and it really shouldn't be the case. SARS has very particular recipes and very particular things you need to do. And if you know them and you do them, it's pretty smooth sailing. So I'm hoping that knowing what can go wrong if you're not in the know will just inspire you a little bit to engage. Once you're engaged, well, I want you to engage not just with your finances, with your tax, but also with your accountants. I want you to think of this as a relationship like you think of you and your patients. It's a relationship. You could be the best doctor in the world. If it doesn't click, it doesn't click. The same thing goes for your accountant. Find someone who works with you and for you, and you work well together. We'll ask George a few of these things as well. Once you're engaged and you know what's going on, from there you can elevate. And this is working the systems to your advantage so that you can move forward. To finish my story, and this seems so very short, but anyway, I've got a few more minutes. Manita and I worked solidly for about 9 months to sort out a mess period of about 18 months. And it was a really, really hard journey. I got elbow deep into my numbers, my accounting, my finance, both business and personal. It was incredibly uncomfortable to actually see all those numbers. And I had to deal with a whole range and very unexpected emotions around money, which is something we never talk about and something we never do. I also had to face the reality of my situation, which meant I had to retrench the clinician that was with me, that was working with me. I had to transfer my admin and my cleaning staff to a rental partner of mine. And I resigned from the board of my professional association. It was a huge cost in terms of time and money for me to go through this process. And as much as I'm still dealing with some of the aftermath of this, it's been an incredibly empowering journey. So through the knowledge I've gained from this journey and through some of the access, systems and processes and support that I've gained along the way, I finished the 2026 financial year 100% cash positive. No debt. I made a profit. It wasn't some magic number on a report at the end of the year that went, it was real, I could see it. And I had enough cash reserved to pay my SARS obligation comfortably. Not this obligation, my normal obligation, comfortably, without blinking. And it felt really, really good. This is my SARS e-filing compliance page. Recent. I screenshotted this last week or so. And it's all green. Okay? If you're worried or don't know what some of these things are, don't worry. We're going to talk to George about some of them, and we're going to talk to Raymond, the lawyer, tomorrow about others on that list. But my point is this. Green is good. And green means go. Do more of it. The other cherry on top of the story, and it's my last slide, which is AI, is that it ignited a shared passion to do this more. So today I stand here sharing my story so that I hope you can not get there, okay? And between Manita and I, we've started a YouTube channel. We want to share stories like this, and we want to empower you so that you can learn and do more and get involved. This is brand new, and it is still blank. We're literally recording our first video only this coming Monday. But if you're interested in topics like this and understanding some of the basics, please give us a follow. Or if you just want to watch, that would be great. But your support would be cool, and I'm hoping that along the way we can share and teach. For about a year into this journey, I actually became such a recluse, which was quite interesting. But right now you see me in my natural environment. This is where I want to be, and this is where I'm comfortable. And I'm back there now. So I'm hoping that through all of this, well, not I'm hoping, what I want to tell you through all of this is that if you're nodding and things are great and this has been boring, I am very, very happy for you. If things are going well and you know they're going well, keep up the momentum. But if you're not sure, at least start with your login profile. And if you're not sure if there's mess, or if you know there is mess, there are systems and there are people that will help you and that can help you and that should be able to talk you through it nicely so that you understand. Thank you for listening to my story today.
Thank you. I think we need to give her a much bigger round of applause for the fact that she has all those greens. I mean, that is like something to be proud of. So, thank you so much for being willing to share your personal story. Money is always such a taboo topic, which I think we also need to normalize it not being a taboo topic. Like, we need to normalize being able to speak openly about money. So, do we have any questions? We have a question over here.
All right. Thank you so much for such a presentation. Just a quick question. Maybe you have some legal, expertise. Is it legal for SARS to just debit whatever amount at any point in time, whether you are aware of it or not, and your bank, how does your bank respond? Or they work with SARS, and they're supposed to protect your account at all costs?
It's a question I had as well. Yes, it is. Maybe George later on can give us the technicalities behind it. But yes, there are processes in place. Don't ask me where you tick the box, right? But I think being a South African taxpayer, you agree to these terms and conditions. I can't answer the technical detail behind the question, but yes, it is. And if they don't get it from your bank account, there's other processes that they can get it. The benefit for us is that they're really slow at it. The problem is that you've forgotten about it when it gets jacked. What I remember now about that is that they allocate third-party companies to do it. And I actually saw the list of those companies on the website. They've got tenders or whatever it may be with third-party debt collectors to do that debt collection process. It's not the easiest communication process with the third party, but the systems are there, and yes, it does happen and it does work.
I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but does you owing SARS affect your credit profile at all?
I have no idea.
That would be an interesting thing to ask. You don't know. We should try and find that out because, I mean, that's also something to take into consideration. I have a question. At the time when you were going through this, were you a sole prop or a Inc. at the time?
I'm still trading as an incorporated, and I was incorporated at the time. And this was a problem that happened with my very first VAT submission, actually, and a couple of others over a period of 18 months. There were other things involved as well, but this was through the incorporated business VAT stuff.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions, comments? Can I get an indication how many of you here are in private practice? Okay. So I'm assuming the rest of you are working either in public sector, or how many of you here are health professionals? Okay, so most of you here. And I think, like, although Megan's story is predominantly around being a business owner, the same rules apply around tax compliance as an individual. You know, are you registered with SARS? Do you pay provisional tax? If you have business on the side, you ideally should be paying provisional tax. A lot of people don't know that. Are you working for other practices? Are you a locum? Locums have a whole other thing. You need to find an accountant who knows how.
So we're going to be answering exactly some of those questions
fantastic.
now.
Okay.
And some other aspects of that tomorrow with the lawyer. And there's a lot of overlap, so please do come tomorrow as well. But yeah, my talk went so quickly, but it gives us more time with George.